Inside this plain, unassuming package is a piece of horror history. A piece of art, some would say, while others may call it an artifact of pure terror. This is the 50th anniversary Ultimate Pretty Woman Leatherface figure from NECA. It's a controversial collectible for sure. A disturbing moment from a disturbing film captured in plastic and paint. But this isn't just an unboxing. It's much more than that. This box holds a story, a 50-year timeline of terror, madness, and a family. Tonight, as we unbox this figure, we're going to unbox the entire horrifying history of this man, or monster, we call Leatherface. So listen closely. Every little crinkle of the packaging, and the figurine, and the taps, as we reveal dark secrets. A new piece of story that has twisted and bled across decades, across different names, different faces, so get comfortable. Let's settle in and let my voice be your guide into the heart of Texas. Chainsaw Massacre. Let's begin. Okay, so the first layer, the protective skin of paper here, or material, it reminds me of how this whole nightmare really started. Not with a chainsaw, and not with a masked madman, but with whispers. Whispers from a tiny town in Wisconsin called Plainfield. Whispers about a quiet, lonely man named Ed Gein. The story that Toby Hooper, if I recall, and Kim Henkel wrote back in 1974. The one audiences were convinced was a true story, maybe even a snuff film. Well, it wasn't entirely fiction, it was inspired by a very real and grotesque human being. The crimes of Ed Gein, as some may call it. Gein was a man who lived in total isolation on a desolate farm, not unlike the one we all come to fear in Texas. His mother, Augusta, was a religious zealot who poisoned his mind, teaching him that all women, except for her, were vessels of sin. When she died, something inside of Ed just snapped. He was all alone with her memory, and he started a mission, a horrifying, desperate mission, to preserve her, to become her. Well, after Gein's arrests in 1957, police walked into his home. What they found was a house of horrors that almost defies description. They found furniture upholstered in human skin, bowls made from skulls, a belt made out of human nipples. Yes, and most terrifying of all, masks. Masks he had crafted from the faces of women he dug up from his local graveyard. He didn't just do grave robberies. He eventually became a murderer, killing at least 2 women. But it was the act, the wearing of another person's face, that planted the darkest seed for what we would become, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The story goes that Toby Hooper heard about these things as a child from relatives who lived near Plainfield, and the tales, they burrowed into his mind. That idea, the singular idea that the monster wasn't some demon but an actual man, a deeply, deeply disturbed man, that was the true horror. The idea that evil wasn't supernatural but something that could be living right next door, hidden behind a quiet farmhouse. And with that cut, we break the seal on the fiction today. We move from the chilling realities of Ed Gein to the cinematic nightmare of the Sawyer family. Let's be honest, as much as we love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, it's a mess. It's a tangled, bloody web of sequels, pre-sequels, and reboots that all seem to contradict each other. But tonight, we're going to untangle it, tread by tread. And it all begins here, right, in 1974 with Tobe Hooper's masterpiece. The original film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is set on August 18th, 1973, introduces us to the Sawyers. They're a family of laid-off slaughterhouse workers who took their very unique skills and turned them towards a new and frankly horrifying family business. They are cannibals in the Texas backwoods, preying on anyone unlucky enough to wander onto their property. Here, inside this plastic coffin, we see him, the family's main enforcer, the character we know as Leatherface. In the first film, he never really actually said his name, but other materials and sequels gave him a few. Bubba Sawyer is one, Jedi Sawyer is another one. He showed to be intellectually disabled. This huge, almost childlike person who acts out of fear and obedience to his family, not out of pure evil. The original actor Gunnar Hansen brought this terrifying duality to life, creating a monster who was both scary and, in a weird way, kind of pitiful. He communicated not with words, but when he wears his masks, each one stitched together from his victims' faces. And each one a different personality, a different role in the family. The one we see here, the pretty woman mask with its caked-on makeup and wig, this is the face he wears for dinner in his attempt to look presentable, to be the lady of the house, to the family's grotesque evening meal. It's one of the three main faces in the original, along with the killing mask and the old lady mask. So, who else is at the dinner table? First, you have Drayton Sawyer, the cook, right? Played by Jim Cito. He is the oldest brother and the head of the family. He runs the local gas station where he cooks the family victims into his award-winning barbecue and chili. He's the most normal seeming of the bunch, but he's the one pulling all the strings, claiming he has no pleasure in killing, while happily profiting from it. Then there's the hitchhiker, who we learn is named Nubbins Sawyer. He's the one robbing the graves mentioned at the beginning of the film, creating his grim little art projects. He's erratic, unhinged, and the first member of the family the poor victims meet. He gets his name from his fate, of course, getting run over by a truck while chasing the final girl, Sally Hardesty. And finally, there's Grandpa Sawyer, a man so old he looks like a corpse, said to be well over 100 years old, but he's alive. The family worships him, calling him the best killer there ever was back in the old slaughterhouse days. In the film's horrifying climax, they try to let him kill Sally with a hammer, but his hands are too weak to even hold it, which gives her a chance she needs to escape. As we undo these ties, we release the story into the next chapter. The family didn't end in 1974. Tobe Hooper came back 12 years later in 1986 with The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. The film dives headfirst into dark comedy, a wild, gory departure from the gritty feel of the first. The family is now living in an abandoned, cavernous theme park, where we meet a new brother, Robert Bobby Sawyer, first known as Chop Top. He's Nubbin's twin, a Vietnam vet with a metal plate in his head that he constantly scratches with a hot coat hanger. He's unhinged, just like his brother, and he carries Nubbin's mummified corpse around him like a puppet. Drayton is back winning chili cook-offs with his secret recipe, and Leatherface, well, we know Leatherface falls in love with the film's final girl, a DJ named Stretch. This sequel ends with Drayton, Grandpa, and Chop Top all seemingly getting killed. But like I said, the timeline is messy. The third film in the 1990s, Leatherface, is The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Mostly ignored, the second one, it introduces yet another branch of the family. Here, Leatherface is called Junior. We meet another brother, the cruel and charismatic Tex Sawyer, a sister, and even Leatherface's own daughter, a small silent girl who is sometimes referred to as Bobby. It's a darker movie, but it just tangles the family tree even more. The last film in this was her original, very confusing continuity. In 1995's Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation, this one truly bizarre. Leatherface is now part of the family called the Slaughters, and they apparently work for a secret society. Maybe the Illuminati, who knows, right? But it's whose job is to create terror to keep humanity in check. It's a strange, often mocked entity that complicates the lore in ways no one saw coming. And so the original timeline that just sort of fades out, not with a bang, but with a question mark, a confusing legacy of different names, different family members, and conflicting stories. But the core horror was always there. A family bound by blood and atrocity, and their silent, hulking enforcer. Now, we have to put all of that aside because in 2003, the story was reborn, washed clean in blood, and reimagined for a new audience. This is the timeline of the remake and its prequel, the timeline of the Hewitt family. With the 2003 remake, The Chainsaw Massacre, or The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Sawyer name is gone. Instead, we get a much more structured and in some ways, more cohesive family unit. The Hewitts. The Leatherface is given a new name and a very clear tragic backstory. He is Thomas Brown Hewitt. In the 2006 pre-sequel, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning lays it all out. Thomas was born in 1939 with a severe facial disfigurement and skin disease. His mother died in childbirth, and her boss just left the baby in a dumpster. He was found and adopted by Luda Mae Hewitt. Bullied his entire life for how he looked, he was a tormented soul bit who eventually found a home working in the local slaughterhouse. This is where the mask comes from. It's not just a trophy. It's a necessity to hide the deformities that caused him into a lifetime of pain. The Leatherface, played by Andrew Bernsinki, is bigger, more brutal, and less childlike. More of a pure, terrifying force of nature. The Hewitt family is different too. They're a tighter, more malicious unit. The matriarch is Luda Mae Hewitt, a seemingly sweet old woman who is cold, calculating the heart of the family. Then there's Charlie Hewitt, who, after murdering the local sheriff, steals his identity and becomes Sheriff Hoyt. He uses his authority to lure travelers off the highway and into the family's home. Arlie Ermey's portrayal of Hoyt is one of the most memorable villains in the whole franchise, a sadist who loves psychological torture. We also have Monty Hewitt, the amputee uncle, and the D-Lady, adding more layers of grotesquerie to this monstrous family. The version of the family is less about desperation and more about a chosen lifestyle of cruelty. They are a clan that actively rejected the outside world to embrace their own depraved morality. The Hewitt family story is a self-contained in these two films of brutal and grimy chapter that give Leatherface here a definitive, though less tragic, origin. They are not just killers, they are architects of their own personal hell, and they love having visitors. With this, Tommy Hewitt is armed, his identity is set, and the timeline comes to a close, a bloody circle. Alright, so let's switch on to the actual unboxing, and I'll continue on with this interesting story, right? So here we have who will survive and what will be left of them. So scary. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 50 years. Incredible. Wow, look at that. Look at that. It looks amazing, amazing art. And so scary. Look at this. Let's see if I can get a little closer there. Oh my gosh. That is so scary. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me, let's open this bad boy up. Let's see what's the easiest way, I think, from the bottom. Okay. Let me go ahead and unbox this bad boy. Put that down. Okay, so the story doesn't stop there. Let me continue on as I unbox this. The timeline, I think it splits again. Let's talk about accessories, right? The pieces that complete the puzzle of the movie and how they connect to the timelines and how they try to bridge all the gaps. Let's pick up this piece. Let's see here. Whoa, let's see if we can pick up. Oh my goodness, I'm just looking at everything. So let's see here. We have a small knife and a saw of some kind there and a hammer. Oh my goodness. It reminds me of the attempt to perform the surgery on the time itself. In 2013, we got the Texas Chainsaw 3D. The film acts like a direct sequel in 1974 from that 1974 original movie. Ignoring everything else, it picks up right after Sally escapes, with the townspeople burning the Sawyer house to the ground, killing the whole family. Or so they thought. Wow. Incredible. Just put those over there so I don't lose them. But let's see here. What else do we have? We have the chainsaw. This is and here is his signature equipment. The chainsaw itself. It is. Look at that rich detail. Oh my gosh. That looks amazing. Wow. And then there's this armadillo. Oh man. Little strange detail. A piece of the Texas roadkill turned into an icon. It's a nod of the surreal, almost random horror of the original film, and the randomness that brings to the most recent entry. In the 2022 Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre, another legacy sequel that, you guessed it, acts as a direct follow-up only to the original 1974. It set out 50 years later. A group of young entrepreneurs try to gentrify an abandoned Texas town and accidentally disrupt the quality of life for the life of the elderly Leatherface, right? When his mother figure dies from the stress of it all, it reawakens the monster. The film brings back the original final girl, Sally, now a grizzly Texas Ranger obsessed with finding the man who killed her friends. Leatherface is now an old man and just as brutal as ever. And the film ends on a grim. Oh no. The film ends on a grim, a note that suggests the evil is truly eternal. Interesting how I can't have him hold this bad boy either. That is interesting, perhaps. Well, look at this detail though. Let's get into it. Look at this. This is so amazing. His pants he's untied. Wow. Can he look? Oh my goodness. Can I take this mask off? It looks like I can. Hold on, let's see. Oh, I don't. Oh no. Let's see. No, it doesn't come off. Oh no, that's fine. But interesting that I can take off his cute tie, ready for work. Looks amazing. And it looks like we can also switch on his hands. This must be for holding the knife. Okay, let's switch out his hands. And there you have it. For 50 years, the sound of the chainsaw has echoed in our collective nightmares. Sound of madness. The sound of he is Leatherface, and he is forever. Thank you for listening so closely tonight. I hope you found this scary yet relaxing take on the unboxing of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sleep well, and try not to dream of Texas.